Hello, my name is Jonah Clement, for those of you that are new to the channel. And today's topic, I wanted to discuss the concept of faith and what it means to actually have trust in God, the universe, source, whatever you call him. And to kick that off, I wanted to actually share with you an adage that I heard growing up from my dad, from movies, film, media, different people in my life. And basically it goes like this. So there were two farmers that both drastically needed rain. And they were experiencing a drought, so they ended up praying to God for him to send rain. Yet only one of them went out and started to prepare and tend their fields for the oncoming monsoon. Who do you believe had faith that God was going to send rain? So I ask you this question, and it should be a pretty straightforward answer. I'm pretty sure some of you have definitely heard this adage or this story before. But obviously the one that went out and tended their fields for the oncoming rain is the one that has faith in God that he's actually going to send it. Now, you'd be surprised, as a lot of people don't really do this in their life. I didn't do this for the longest time, but the ultimate moral of the story can be boiled down into kind of this saying here. Faith is free, action is not. So you can have faith in anything. You can have faith in friends, family, faith in God. Having faith in somebody is free. Having faith in a source or higher power is free. All it really requires is a prayer, a moment of silence, asking or beseeching, or whatever your process is for this prayer, or for this, asking of source for something. I basically, personally, I use prayer. Sometimes I'll just, talk, and not necessarily, I don't prostrate myself usually. I don't necessarily believe in that. But, it is in the form of typically a prayer. And that's free. Anybody can pray. It's not, there's no requirement for it. All it really is a moment of silence and asking for something you need, desire, or want. Now, action, on the other hand, is not free. Like the farmer that was preparing their fields for rain, they had to go out and tend their field. They had to get it prepared for the monsoon, even though they did not necessarily 100% know that the rain was coming. Now here's the thing. That is faith in essence right there. It's the concept of seeing is not necessarily believing. You don't have to see everything to believe in it. Now, that farmer had complete trust and faith in God that the rain was going to come. And he spent energy, time, and resources preparing his fields with no indication whatsoever that God was going to send the rain. And that's something that, a lot of people don't do in their lives. I didn't do it for the longest time, like I mentioned before. But action isn't free. It requires typically three things. And I'm not just talking about resources like money and, in the case of the farmer, like water, a backhoe to hoe the earth, a shovel or whatever, seeds, anything. Not those types of resources. I'm talking about energy, time, and focus. Those are the three things that actions typically require as the most important things. You got to give your energy to it, which in turn gives your time to it, and in turn gives your focus. And those can kind of be bundled into one thing. Now, that's why action isn't free. So faith is free, action is not. When those combine, that's when I believe and I trust that source, the universe, God, is when they send the rain. Because in essence, you're not, I wouldn't say proving, but you're showing God, you're showing source that, hey, I truly believe and mean what I say when I'm asking you to send the rain. I'm asking you to send what I asked for. And you're willing to take that leap of faith. Now, action is the key part. I believe in faith. Faith is important, and I think it's one of the easiest things to have. It can also be difficult because putting yourself out there and trusting something that you physically cannot see, that exists in the metaphysical quantum realm that's beyond our comprehension, a complete omnipotent, omniscient being that we have no way of truly wrapping our heads around and understanding it to its fullest extent. But if you actually take, stories and adages from the Bible, one great example is Moses and how basically his entire journey of faith and his entire journey of trusting God started really with a burning bush. And he literally was talking to a burning a burning hedge right there and just, having a conversation with it, if or any of you familiar with the Bible. This led all the way to him performing all these, in essence, miracles, or God performing miracles through him. One example, or I believe it was about, I just finished, I'm rereading the Bible right now, about, I think there were 7 plagues. I might be incorrect, so please correct me if I'm wrong. You can add that in the comments on, how many plagues there were. But the plagues, and eventually Pharaoh let him go, and they end up getting to this the Red Sea, that, over in the Middle East. And they had nowhere to go, and God just basically said, you keep going forward, and we're gonna go through the ocean. We're gonna go through that sea. And that's what ends up happening, is Moses basically had blind faith in God that he was going to lead him to the promised land and lead them home. And through that, he literally was able to part the seas with the power of God and with the help of God. And they ended up escaping Egypt and Pharaoh and prosecution from those folks. Another great example from the Old Testament specifically is Joseph. There's a movie about him called Joseph, King of Dreams. I grew up, it's an animated film. It's amazing if you have not seen it. But basically, long story short, his brothers end up selling him into slavery in Egypt. He basically kind of takes this, I would say, fairly well. He ends up going and working for this Egyptian household, gets accused by the wife that basically he was coming on to her when it was actually she was coming on to him. He ends up getting thrown into jail because of it. He's in prison for, I believe, a couple of years. I cannot remember exactly, but he's in prison for a few years. Through this, he's actually interpreting some of the inmates' dreams. One of them, which I believe was the royal chef, I believe. The other one, I think, was a royal guard. Long story short, though, he ends up somehow getting mentioned. I think it was the royal chef. Basically, one of the people that worked for Pharaoh at the time, it's not the same Pharaoh as Moses, the Pharaoh at the time, ended up calling in Joseph to interpret his dream. And through this, he ended up interpreting Pharaoh's dream. And basically, they learned they were going to have 7 years of prosperity, then 7 years of drought when it came to food and all the resources that Egypt had at the time. And Joseph basically, from that, got put in charge of all of Egypt by Pharaoh. Pharaoh told him, even he had the title of father of the Pharaoh. He was like the advisor of the Pharaoh. He basically was the second most powerful person in Egypt at that time. The only person that was stronger than, or more powerful than him, and it literally was declared in the Bible, was literally Pharaoh himself. And he said, the only person that, in essence, you answer to is me. You don't answer to anybody else. You are, in essence, the most powerful person in Egypt. And through complete faith in God and going through all these trials and tribulations, he ends up becoming, in essence, the most powerful person in Egypt, besides, the ruler. And these are 2 great examples, I would say, of faith. And you can see this in all sorts of movies, all sorts of media today. But basically, the concept of blind faith is believing in something greater than yourself, but also following through with actions to show that you are willing and that you truly believe in what you're asking for and what you're saying. And that's a rarity today. A lot of people, they say they want things. They have these dreams. They're like, I want to start a blog or a YouTube channel, or I want to start my own business, or this or that. And they say all these things, but they never take the action to actually follow through on them. And that's part of faith. You got to follow through on it with action. It's literally just a leap of faith. And I'm gonna steal this from Spider-Man. But if anybody's seen Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, Peter Parker, the older version of him, basically tells Miles Morales that how do I know? Miles asks Peter, like, how do I know when I'm ready? How does he know when he's ready? He's Spider-Man. How does he know he's ready to be Spider-Man? And Peter literally tells him, it's just a leap of faith. That's all it is. And really what he's saying is, you just got to take the action and just believe, and everything will follow through after that. And you're going to, of course, stumble and trip and fall. That's part of the journey, but you gotta follow through on action. And the funny part is as soon as Miles actually believes in himself and truly believes he's ready to be Spider-Man, that's when it snaps, and that's when he snaps into place, and it becomes within his mind that he is Spider-Man, and he's not going to get it right all the time, but like he understands that he has the power within himself to do amazing things. And I know that's a fictional character, or is it? That's a joke, but that's the thing. It's like even in fictional stories, comic books, like sometimes it's just a leap of faith, and in this life, it's just a leap of faith. And I know a lot of us have a lot of dreams and things that we want to accomplish, and sometimes you got to get up off your butt and do something about it. You can't just sit there and complain and think God's going to send the rain if you're not preparing your fields. Like, it's the concept of somebody's like, I'm going to win the lottery, but they never go and buy a lottery ticket. It's the concept of somebody's like, I'm going to write a fantastic blog, but they never take the moment to actually sit down and write their first blog article and consistently do that. For me, for example, I have faith in this channel. I'm just trying to get this message out to as many people as possible. I have no expectation of where this is going to lead, but I have faith in the actions that I'm taking, that I'm going to just continually produce quality content every week for people to enjoy. And really, this is something I love doing, and I'm not going to stop doing it, even if it, doesn't take off. But I have faith in God that it's getting to the people that it needs to get to and affecting the people that it needs to affect. That's all that really matters to me. And that's the purpose behind this. And that should really be the purpose behind your faith. It has to be something you truly believe in. And I know that a lot of people are like, well, I don't really know what my purpose is, or I can't figure out what it is. And like, that's part of the journey. And it's not something that's always easily obtained. I remember when I was younger, I grew up thinking I wanted to be a doctor. Funny enough, that was something that my parents really wanted for me. They wanted something where it was like, oh yeah, secure income, you'd be doing well, helping people. And funny enough, when I got to college, I was kind of like, and I went through my first semester as a freshman, and I took all these pre-med courses. I was basically like, I absolutely can't stand this stuff. And it wasn't because I didn't like math and science. I love math and science. Those are two of my favorite subjects. But it was more along the lines of like, after that first semester, I kind of sat there and reflected and was like, I don't think I could do this for the rest of my life. Because it was like I would have to finish, undergrad, then 4 years of medical school. And then what I wanted to do specifically was I wanted to go into orthopedic spinal surgery. Because I was like, if I'm going to go into surgery, might as well go into the coolest surgery. I didn't want to be a neurosurgeon, but I was like, spinal surgery sounds really cool. That's something that I would actually like, it sounds challenging and enjoying. But then I found out, it's like 4 years of general surgery residency, and then you'd have to do another 2 years of specialty, and then because you're for orthopedics, and then because you're a spinal surgeon, you have to do another 2 years on top of that. So then basically, after almost 20 years of education, you finally can operate within your own practice, in essence. And I was like, I don't want to spend 20 years of my life getting to this point where I'm super specialized in this one thing, and then find out that I don't enjoy it, because I already kind of figured after that first, semester year of pre-med, I was like, I don't really want to do this. I want to help people, but I don't want to do it like this. There's many avenues to help people. And finding your purpose is something that involves faith. You got to just trust God that it's going to present itself to you, but you have to take the actions to try to find it. And the way you do that is you go out and do the things you enjoy doing and see if that provides any net benefit to the world or any positivity to the world. And in some cases, you want to try to figure out a way to where ultimately, if it could make some sort of income stream, that would be beneficial. But I don't think that's the most important thing. A lot of people chase after money, and I don't agree with that. I think your purpose should be your focus, and figuring out what that is literally pursuing the actions and things you enjoy doing. And sometimes you get surprised. When you're younger, it's great because you can try all sorts of different things. And I highly recommend that if you're if you're a teenager in your early 20s. I'm only 28. If you're in your 20s, 30s, heck, you can do this for the rest of your life. But the younger you are, you can try all these different avenues and figure out what you like, and figure out things that actually provide some type of benefit to the world. And a lot of people are afraid of taking that leap of faith into things that they enjoy and trying to figure out a way to actually make that into something they could do for a living, and something that they could do and help the world with. And the funny part is, half of faith is really just a deep understanding and knowing and trust. And it's like, how do you have this knowing? And it's like, it's something you feel within your gut, in your bones, in your body. It's when, I would like to say, it's when your heart aligns with your head. It's when you're your heart's telling you one thing and then your head's agreeing with you. That is something I believe in essence is the representation of how you can understand and know when you're really on the right path. And I'm going to also steal something from Kratos. If anybody's familiar with the game God of War, that trilogy and the new couple of games that just came out, he ends up telling Atreus, follow your heart, but you need to hone it with your mind. And I agree with that. I 100% agree that you need to follow your heart, because your intuition is going to guide you to what you need to do. But the thing is, though, is most people just listen to their intuition or their heart, but they don't actually use the one other thing that God gave you, which was your conscious mind, and using that to hone your heart to where you can follow through in your heart, but in a practical manner. You can live in the world, but not be of it. Or you can live in the world, but not be of it. So that's the thing. And here the truth of the matter is, it's not necessarily easy to have faith, but it's something where it is free. It's just a prayer, but you need to follow through on that action. So I'm going to leave it there. If you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate you hitting that like button. Also, I'd love to have a conversation for your thoughts on faith and your thoughts on, action and that adage I mentioned earlier. You can just leave a comment in the comment section below. I like to reply to every comment that I can. I really do enjoy having an open discussion with everybody here. Other than that, if you aren't subscribed, I'd really, really love for you to hit that subscribe button. It does help the channel grow. And then the last thing is the notification bell. If you want to be notified of future content, just hit that notification bell. I typically upload every Monday, Wednesday, Friday right now. I'm probably going to expand that in the future. But other than that, thank you again for joining. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you on Wednesday.